Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World this morning. I am your host Hajra Satti and joining me is my wonderful co-host who happens to be Muzammil. Assalamu alaikum Muzammil. How are you doing today?
Salam. I'm doing great, and as every other episode today we're bringing you exciting facts and our guests from the fields of education and sports and from the field of journalism.
Right.
And these places are the important places that are very important for our young generation, our youth and the future of our country.
That's very true, and in a very interesting development, Pakistan's Astola beach has secured a coveted spot among the world's top 70 beaches. Oh wow! Thanks to Astola Island's breathtaking beauty and unique ecological features, this hidden gem, Pakistan's largest offshore island, boasts stunning landscapes characterized by towering cliffs, secluded coves and vibrant coral reefs. And I think one of the things that is very fascinating about Astola Island is that it is still very produces or presents a very virgin and raw beauty, and it's untouched by the human plastics or pollution or the litter that is a very characteristics of lots of beaches across the world. But if I get the opportunity, I will surely visit the Astola Islands and immerse and soak in the beauty of this nature's gem. So today happens to be 25th of October, and it also happens to be World Pasta Day. Muzammil, why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
First of all, before the World Pasta Day, I would also like to mention that importance of carbs. Carbs are a very important part of your diet. Carbs help you function great, carbs keep you high energy, and World Pasta Day, observed on the 25th of this month, celebrates one of the most popular comfort foods in the world. And these range from the penne to the spaghetti, and pasta brings people from all around the world together on the table, and that fills the plates with satisfaction and warmth. With thousands of
Right, with the thousands of varieties, and I think my mother has this, I don't know, repulsion from the pasta so much because she's a roti lover and she is like, you know, ye to West mein khate hain, ye to aisa hai, ye waisa hai. But I guess this is how moms are, especially in our South Asian culture. But now it happens to be the Global Media and Information Literacy Week, and why there is a need to observe this particular week. And whenever we talk about the Global Media and Literacy Week, we always observe that there are lots of echo chambers that have emerged. So birds of feather flock together. It's a very fascinating sort of a proverb that fits entirely well into today's media ecosystem. What does that mean? How does artificial intelligence fits into entire conversation? And what exactly does the news deserts means which are emerging in the US media landscape to further develop this conversation? I'm very glad that I've been joined by one of the old colleague, friend and a class fellow of mine who was a brilliant student. He always fascinated us with the very intelligent conversations that he used to have in my bachelor's. Then he went to London and he acquired a degree of international journalism from the School of Oriental and African Studies, and now he's also hosting his own digital platform channel called Untilted. I'm very glad that I've been joined by Zain Khan Afridi. Assalamu alaikum Zain, and thank you so much for gracing us.
Pleasure to be here. It's an absolute
Absolutely. So Zain, we've seen that since you're hosting a digital platform and there are lots of digital spaces that have propped up, right? And we've also seen that the trust in the media has eroded and now people are flocking towards these podcasts, right? What do you have to say about this erosion in the media news channels?
So there's a lot to say when it comes
Sure.
to this conversation, because you see, there's the traditional news,
Right.
where there are two people sitting on the screen,
Yeah.
reading out news pieces, and people used to consume whatever information that came their way.
Right.
But now we slowly see this transition to what you said, podcasts.
Yes.
One thing that I see as a major difference is that podcasts are usually very opinionated.
Yeah.
And people in today's day and age have naturally also become very opinionated.
Right.
So they like to go for content that gives them either more support in view of their arguments, if they are on the spectrum that they're standing in, and even if it's something opposing, if the information or the opinion coming from that content is good enough, they may even switch, because obviously people, as much as we like to believe, are rigid in their views.
Right.
If given the right arguments, they do sometimes switch sides.
True.
So instead of the traditional news reading sort of content coming their way, people like these opinions,
That's very
and they want to hear more of them. This one more debate that often occurs is that people don't have enough attention spans nowadays.
yes, yes.
I also agree with that.
That's
But
true.
then, while there are people looking at their TikToks and Reels, podcasts are usually 40
Very
or
long.
40 minutes or an hour long, but people do sit down or
True.
maybe listen to them in their car or on their train rides.
Yes.
So, as much as we blame people regarding their attention spans,
Right.
what the patterns show that if you give the kind of content they need, they will give you attention.
Well, the power of media in building narratives and in building opinions, this freedom that this private media brings now to the scape, how important do you think it is to regulate these things, to put out good information that builds proper narratives and that builds proper perspectives, and the responsibility of conducting responsible journalism in the field? What are your comments on that?
So, see, responsible journalism, I think, is the first step to journalism. I feel that instead of breaking news, if you give out the same piece of news 15 minutes later, but your audience knows that it is verified and when it comes from your platform, it is going to be correct and not just hype or clickbait, that's what differentiates between a news outlet and a media outlet or an entertainment platform.
Right.
If you are in the news business, if you want to do hardcore news, you need to verify first.
Yes.
And that's where I feel the traditional news media has sort of lost its way, because they're competing with citizen journalism, they're competing with Instagram and YouTube lives, they're competing with people who pick up a phone and have a camera and a microphone and they can give out whatever sort of news they want, and they will generate eyeballs because they're in the moment, they're fast. In order to be fast, the traditional media sometimes forgoes or let goes of its traditional gatekeeping or
Yes.
editorial policies. Now, I personally believe that if there are organizations that have had this history of being very strong editorially, when they do evolve, when they do diversify, when they do go into the digital world, they should carry forward those values with them of verifying, of being trustable, of being authentic, in the sense that when an audience reads your news, watches you on their phone, on your website, wherever they know that what we are reading will most probably be correct, and that the onus of that falls on the traditional media. You cannot expect the up and coming Gen Z journalists
Yes.
to sort of protect those values that they might not even be aware of in the first
Right.
place, because we talk about fake news being a problem. For a lot of people, this issue doesn't exist. And that's another debate about media literacy and how there is so much that needs to be done in terms of, we all talk about a right to information,
That's true.
but
That's
we barely ever talk about our responsibility as an individual to how do we deal with that information. Everything that you get on your phone as a forwarded message will not be true. We
Most
cannot,
of it.
most of it is not true.
It's not true.
And the problem is that a lot of people, or most of the people, take it on face value. That if I get a piece of news or a video, why do I have to believe that this is absolutely true?
Now, since the this field, it connects all other fields, education, news about sports, news about health sciences, news about what should be done in what case scenario if you get sick, if you fall ill. And there is so much misinformation out there. People forward random messages that have been written by God knows who, and then people stop using medication for the proper medication that they should be using regarding the relevant illness that they're suffering from, and they go back to those things that they've read on those messages, and then they face the consequences
and
for it.
I
Absolutely.
think this is the flip side of the coin is Zen, like we've witnessed, especially in the US college protests, the way the media was covering it, right? So we've seen how New York Times was covering it, how CNN was covering it. There was a very peaceful rallies in the support of the Gaza, right? And I was awed of the students. I mean, they were ready to forsake their Ivy degrees in the support of the cause that they believed in, right? And the way legacy media reported, it was absolutely very lowest form of the reporting they have witnessed, right? They said that they were not attacked by the Zionist lobby, and we've seen that how that actually happened, right? So the flip side of the coin is when the legacy media is lying, social media is telling the truth, because you cannot doctor the content, the videos anymore, right? So do you think these legacy media needs to have this very important conversation of the criticism that is being leveled on them, or they're just not taking it into the attention anymore?
So the thing is that more than regulation,
Yeah.
there needs to be self-censorship. There needs to be, he spoke of the fact that there are these media houses
Self-regulation,
that,
right?
that are not working enough on self-regulation. If they do have agendas having is something that's not okay. Having an opinion, that's still okay. A lot of media houses nowadays, they're pushing agendas. So how you spoke of the student protests in the US, that's because there is a certain mindset that is being followed as an agenda by the media houses. And when I say that the legacy media has to evolve, they have to bring those values forward with them. They have to adapt to the situation and know that if we will not move forward, there are students, there are people who will literally pick up their camera and make a video and post it on YouTube, and that is going to get millions of views, while our video or our news piece might not get enough eyeballs because we are not propagating what's true. We are not voicing out the real plight of the people.
True. And then, since you have the experience of working in Pakistani journalism too, you have seen the international journalism too. So like, I want to develop this conversation in the context of Pakistan. So we've seen in Pakistan's context, they have not realized yet the potential of the digital media, right? Most of the news that they're putting on the digital platform, Instagram, YouTube, it's the copy-paste content from the legacy media, right? So do you think that they need to evolve and, you know, more go with the Generation Z and millennials, because they're different generation, they're not baby boomers, right?
So having had a little bit of experience with the Western style of media and storytelling, and then the traditional style of doing it, traditional as in Pakistani, I feel that there is a large gap. There is a lot of hunger in the audience. So our digital shows, they do so much better. They do so much better because people are more mobile. People want new sort of content. They do not want those same old style news packages being delivered to them on Instagram, as you said, or on YouTube. They want something that is specific to the medium they're watching. If I am using my phone, I want content that's phone friendly. I don't want to watch the same old style of journalism that was 70 years ago or 50 years ago. I want to watch something cool. I want to watch something that's quick. I want to watch something that's informative. And this is me not speaking as a journalist. This is me as an audience. I, as an audience, want to watch content that's quick, that's snappy, that gives me the best information in the best style possible. I don't want to be that guy who's 25 or 20 years old, sitting among friends and being called boring for watching news. I want to a person who's young and wants to watch news should be taken as someone who's cool rather than someone who's old-fashioned and boring, because we've always associated news with old people for some reason. So whenever you'd see young people, they consume news, their peers sort of take them as someone who's very boring or maybe someone very intellectual, but it shouldn't be that way. And that's where Pakistani media and even Pakistani legacy media houses, if they want to venture into that, venture into digital, make it fun, make it interesting for people. Because if Pakistan has more than 60% of our people are young people. So if that's your demographic, you need to appeal to that demographic. Most of your old viewers probably won't be there to watch you 10 years from now, unfortunately. But these younger audiences, these are, if you get them now, you have them for the next 30, 40, 50 years if they live long enough.
So basically the demand has evolved, but the journalism, the field has yet to catch up with it.
Absolutely.
And just one last question before we wrap up the segment. So social media has afforded the creativity, the liberty, which was not afforded before, right, in the legacy media. So now, but a lot of critics point out that it has also degraded the quality of the conversations, right? How do you deal with that, Zen, especially when you are working on your own social media platform called Untilted?
So the thing is that the quality of the conversation, I think it's a very individualistic decision.
That's true.
No matter what your editorial says, no matter what the think tank says, eventually it's in your hands to control that flow of conversation or control the level of debate or the intellect of that argument, because it is quite easy. Even the conversation we're having right now, we could be talking about the most clickbaitish things ever, and I can assure you that that would generate a million more audiences in this moment for us. But that's up to us to talk about better standards. You need to first apply it to oneself. So as long as we are in the social media world and we are operating, we cannot preach better values until we practice them in the first place. That's how I see
That's
it.
very true. Thank you for so wonderfully wrapping it up. And we are going on a short break. And once we come back, we will again focus on the literacy, because literacy is one thing that is very essential for the grooming of the entire society. Once again, thank you so much, Zen, for coming here,
a pleasure.
for having this wonderful cross-pollination of ideas regarding the global media and the literacy. And after we come back, after a short break, we will develop further conversation. Don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Stay tuned. Back. And as today's episode is all about progress and moving forward, it would be incomplete without mentioning that today's date marks the day for World's Artists. Now, these are the people who are responsible for putting out different parameters and different perspectives for you on different media, so that they can communicate what a person feels and how things turn out in the longer run. Once they start, they are the people who are responsible for putting things onto canvases. International Artists Day on October 25th honors artists and all the contributions they make. They also celebrate one of the most famous artists, Pablo Picasso, who was born on 25th of October 1881.
Right, and obviously we cannot deny the importance that arts and culture contributes towards the society. So another very interesting and a related development, scientists have scoured the depth of the ocean and the outer space for the microbes that can help slow the global warming. That's very interesting news. So they are now looking at the new unlikely places that is inside our homes. That's very interesting. A group called True Frontiers Project, funded by a biotech company, Seed Health, is asking people in the US to look for weird microbial growth at the home in a quest to find next microorganism that could suck planet heating carbon dioxide from the air or help break the environmental pollutants. Extremophile microbes thrive in the harsh environments and develop unique properties which can be harnessed by the biotech industry and used in the climate solutions, the executive director has said. And this is a very interesting development, and you never know how nature works. It works in a very mysterious ways. So now when we are talking about the artists, now you're talking about how they're contributing towards the Pakistani society. One of the another person, an amazing personality, has brought another feather to his cap, and he has not just made us as a society proud, but he also exhibited his prowess as a martial artist. We are very glad that we have been joined by someone who has broken the Guinness World Book of Records and he also has inspired a lot of young athletes. We are very glad that we have been joined by Rashid Naseem, who happens to be the martial artist. Assalamu alaikum, Rashid, and thank you so much for joining us. Rashid, can you hear us? Rashid, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you.
Right, thank you so much for joining us, Rashid, and you've brought so many feathers to your cap. So why don't you go and enlighten our audiences about your achievements, and especially the Guinness World Book of Record that you've broken?
Thank you so much for inviting on this show. This record is hold previously China. And this record is in category of nunchaku, and the China break this record with previously hold with 74 balloons, and now I am hold this record with the 80 balloons.
Right, right. So that's such a wonderful achievement. So Rashid, please tell us about your what do you call it, the routine or your achievements, or particularly the efforts that you have made to achieve this particular feat in your life.
Currently, I am holding 122 Guinness World Record, and the my daily routine is almost 4 to 5 hours daily training, and because this record is very hard, look like maybe little bit easy, but this record is held by China, and the attempt in the Guinness World Record, one of the Chinese Guinness World Record show. So this why I work very hard, and after 4 to 5 hours daily training, and break this. I think the China, China is a very famous country about related martial art, especially in martial art, and he has already very big champions. But Alhamdulillah, I thanks to God, I break this one for my Pakistan.
Rashid, you've been making Pakistan and Pakistanis very proud, and the work that you are doing is bringing great name to the Pakistani nation. You have thousands and thousands of young fans here in Pakistan and those who also live abroad. And I practice Kyokushin karate myself. So a technical question, a little insight into what would you recommend amongst the martial arts, a wide range of them, being boxing, kickboxing, Shotokan, Kyokushin? How can kids step into this game in a safe manner and start practicing and benefit from these different types of martial arts? And where did you start your journey from? What was your first martial art? Was it Taekwondo? Was it karate? Was it boxing? What was it?
My first martial art basically is a Pakistani style, and but I'm very much like full body contact and freestyle karate wrestling fights. But in these days, I am also doing in my academy affiliated with the Pakistan Taekwondo Federation, and I am doing Taekwondo. And you said which are the best one. I think every game is very good. But I personally like Muay Thai and the freestyle fights, and like MMA, I personally very like. But every game is very famous, and every game is very hard. But if you are doing hard work, in any game, I think you make Pakistan proud at any game, like any game, Taekwondo, Shotokan, Karate, MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, Kung Fu. My teacher, Iqbal Murtaza, he is 7-time national Wushu Kung Fu champion, and he is representing, I think, Pakistan Wabda.
All right, so out of this staggering number of world records that you've achieved, what was the most easiest one for you to break, and which one was the most difficult, and how did you prepare for it?
I think the Guinness World Record is not easy, but some of my records, like punching category, and I think look like easy. But the hardest one, the green coconut smash with the head in 1 minute, and the current record is 43. Yeah, this record is very important because one of the Indian athlete challenged me on Indian Got Talent in front of Shilpa Shetty, but he cannot break after challenge me. But God is with me, and he cannot break my green coconut smash record. And the
Right.
if
Right.
you want,
Thank you so much, Rashid. And we were wishing you best of luck for the future. And I hope and may Allah be with you. Thank you so much once again for
Ameen.
joining us. So, in another very interesting and a related development, the space rock that has slammed Earth into 66 million years ago at the end of the Cretaceous period caused a global calamity that doomed the dinosaurs and many other life forms. But that was far from the larger meteor to strike our planets. One up to 200 times bigger landed 3.26 billion years ago, triggering worldwide destruction at an even greater scale. But as the new research shows, the disaster actually may have been beneficial for the early evolution of life by serving as a giant fertilizer bomb for the bacteria and other single-celled organisms that held dominion at the time, providing access to key nutrients, phosphorus and iron. And that is why I think I always say that nature works in a very, very mysterious way, and Allah Ta'ala has designed the world in a way that one leads to another, and that is how you see the continuity of the events in other phases. And to further explicate, and when we talk about the literacy, we are very glad that we have been joined by one of the personality who's an educationist himself, and he wants to unroll the conversation and how to impart the critical thinking skills, especially to our younger students, because a lot of students will acquire the education, are going into the fields that might not even exist today, but how to make sure that we are preparing for the future, which is dominated by the artificial intelligence and other critical thinking skills. Why don't you take the lead, Muzammil, and introduce our guest?
Assalamu alaikum, sir, Mr. Burair bin Nazir. We have with us a person who is at the center of the field of education, and this is important because our children are our future, and strong nations are built on the backs of strong youth. So we are going to get right into it regarding what is important, what is not, and how.
And how to inculcate the critical thinking skills. So Burair, let's have this very interesting conversation. Do you think our education system is preparing the students for the future, which will be dominated by the artificial intelligence?
Basically, when we talk about the current education system, there is a lot of domain space available for improvement. Currently, the system, especially, there's a wide difference between the public sector and the private sector education systems. The private sector education systems definitely do have more or a head start in compared to the public sector ones while working on things such as AI, ChatGPT, Canva, or basically bringing the children to the level where they're able to bring financial independence in their lives, and they are able, given that skill set which enables them with the 21st century skills, so that they are able to go out in the market and create not only employment for themselves but also be entrepreneurs in the market.
Right.
Right. So, sir, when we talk about education for all, it's in venture, and I think a lot of younger kids, I am witnessing this surging trend in them that they're diagnosed with autism spectrum, with dyslexia and all of these neurodegenerative conditions, right? So, do you think our education system is vibrant enough to absorb these kids which have different sort of conditions, and obviously they need different sort of time and attention, especially from the teachers. So, is our education system inclusive enough?
Right now, I think we face a bit of a challenge that what you're talking about is customized education or trainings or inculcation of different lessons according to the particular individuals that are on stage with their different challenges. Right now, we are in a state across the country where we have very standard set patterns that we follow, and there is a need for bringing diversity into it. Bringing differently enabled children's solution, you need to bring on course different modules that enable that.
Right.
For example, even if we're talking about digital skills or we're talking about the standard education modules, right now across the board from preschools to higher grades, they're all talking about following a standard set pattern. And unfortunately, even that right now, even for the mainstream students, there is a lot of space for improvement. And talking about inclusivity or talking about children with special needs, be it cognitive or physical or any other nature, you feel that they do get left out. There are specialized schools for them, yes, but bringing them to the mainstream, it is much more difficult. So to bring a harmony into the two systems, there is a lot more space to work to be done.
Do you think this is where we face the lack of integrating such people into the society as adults?
Yes, I think generally speaking, as a society, we are not very receptive of differently enabled people.
Right.
And when we talk about bringing them into the mainstream and bringing them into the main aura of people who are for employment, for business purposes or for employment purposes, they are right now not enabled. Yes, unfortunately or fortunately, we have a quota system in place, especially in certain state organizations. But when we talk about the private sector, it is a nice thing to say that we are enabled and we have, let's say, for example, somebody who is sitting on a wheelchair, we have ramps available for them. But as soon as they cross the ramp and get inside the particular building, the rest of the services are not there.
And I think they're also more focusing on the visible disability. For example, these cognitive disabilities, they're not very visible.
Yes.
When they're invisible, so it's very difficult to cater to them. And I think we need to have this more discussion. But sir, very quickly, I would like to ask you, because you were very passionate about talking about how post-COVID education systems are turning, incorporating like more digital or e-learning, right? So there are lots of problems that are also occurring in this mode of learning because teacher is not present, you cannot see the body language of the child.
True.
What do you have to say as an educationist on it?
You're very right. And this problem of bringing the digital system or using it to pass on education is not only actually just post-COVID, but unfortunately with the current scenario of the different political scenarios that come up, the strikes that keep happening, a lot of holidays or day offs are being given to children, and the children are losing out work days of classroom time. So the digital solution is required because physical presence at the institute has become more and more difficult with the prevailing economic and political situation. But the challenge that we face is, one, the tutors or the teachers themselves are not enabled.
Yes.
Two, the quality of connections or internet connectivity is not the same across the board in the nation.
Yes, Right. yes.
So especially there's a very big divide between the urban and rural differentiation. Even within urban centers,
Digital divide, yeah?
yeah, there is a physical divide as well as there is a connectivity divide.
True.
So, and again, when you talk about the different segments of society, the upper echelon of the society have more digital tools. Their kids will have two
More
or three different
sophisticated
tools.
ones, yeah.
They will have a laptop, they will have a
Different sort
tab.
of an access to all of these services.
Their access to these physical
Yes.
products is different. Similarly, somebody from the lower end, or let's say SEC D or E background, who is barely going to school,
Yes.
they will not have a smartphone at
No
their availability.
laptops, lesser
Their parents will
connectivity.
barely maybe have one.
True, true.
Okay, and that too not the best one, or they may not have the data package available. So how is he going to utilize digital training?
Now, talking about all of these electronic resources, AI and other things, and the technology that is being incorporated and used, as you just mentioned, how do you think that the disconnect with the traditional way of learning things, going to libraries, reading hard books on pages, that effort that students used to put in? Back in my day, I didn't have AI. Back when I was in school, we had to go to a library, search through sections, pull books out and read from them. That exercise, how do you think that is impacting the memory and the grit inside of the
Man,
students?
how old are you? I mean, we did had
I'm
the test
34.
okay. Okay, you're talking about you're living in a different era, but that was on a lighter note. Please go ahead.
As you very rightly pointed out, this actually reflects on what you're saying is a reflection of what society is happening. As a society, we've turned into people who are shortcut hunters. And same is happening in our education system as well, that you don't want to do a research paper, you go on ChatGPT and generate your research paper. Everybody is making a carbon copy. And then now there are
Exactly.
tools available to check for plagiarism.
Yes.
And then how,
I
and
think
then
Naked
further
Eye is
tools
also a
available,
tool
how to
available.
cheat that
Evade.
plagiarism checking tool. So, but
Yes.
what is important is in this current day and age is that you cannot say a tool is good or bad. It is how you use it,
How
right?
you use it, yes.
And secondly, with the amount of information or the access of information that we have available, the most important part is teaching your students or teaching the children or the people in society how to use that tool efficiently, how to filter through the amount of information that they're getting, what is good content, what is bad content, what is actual genuine content. Just like in journalism, we talk about there is journalism where there's a lot of research done, a lot of background work done, and then there is the hot gossipy journalism where you grab
Right.
something and you start quoting it. So similarly, in education, you need to have a clear definition of how to get that information. You have a lot of information available, how to filter it, how to summarize it, and these tools make that available. it is totally dependent on, and now what the new current systems need to work on. For example, I know of a few systems, I will not take names, who are now working on giving ability of using Canva to third grade students, fourth grade students, so that they start designing and creating tools and information and use how to use Chat GPT.
Right.
Chat GPT output is dependent on what
Prompt
kind of
engineering,
prompting that
basically.
you put.
Yes.
So giving them the ability set to put the right kind of prompts, to put the right kind of information, and using it for a positive resource activity.
Right, and thank you so much, sir, for coming here, for fostering this conversation regarding enhancing the creativity of the child, and not just the creativity but also the critical thinking skills. It's essential that we talk on the education system and how there's a dire need to inculcate the values in our students that will be more helpful to them in this very competitive and a fastly changing world. Once again, thank you so much, Burair sir, for
Thank
coming
you, sir.
here, for having this wonderful cross-pollination of ideas. And I think before we wrap up this segment and before we pack up this program, there's an interesting development. So there's a younger child, Arman Amir. He has turned 8 years old and we are wishing him happy birthday. So very, very happy birthday and Hajj Day to you. May you grow up and be a fruitful citizen of the country and bring a lot of
prosper and
good
be
name
successful.
to your parents, right? So with that, we are wrapping up our segment. Until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good
Good
morning.
morning.